Just a minute, huh? Okay, so let me start with a case scenario. Okay, so a 30-year-old, you met a 30 department, G1P0, so she's gravid. She came in because of her for her first prenatal checkup at 16 weeks age of gestation. In the course of your physical examination, you noted that the fundic height is at the 16 weeker. The fundic height at the level of the umbilicus. Anybody? Is that the expected height of the fundus at 16 weeks age of gestation? Huh? Anybody? Nawala ba ako? Can someone answer that question? Lahat kayo nagpe-preceptorial na, tapos na yung dalawang sections. Yung isang section, you have already started your preceptorial. Although supposedly, dapat last week we had a session on physical examination. Siguro yung iba sa inyo nakapag-PE, no? Yung Friday kasi hindi natuloy because of the storm, the typhoon. O is a fundic height of 20 cm compatible with the 16 weeks age of gestation? Fundic height at the level of the umbilicus pala. Hindi ako tutuloy kung walang sasagot. Ibaling di matapos yung lecture.
Doc, at 16 weeks po, we can expect the fundic height to be in between the umbilicus and the symphysis pubis. So
Okay.
kapag mas the level of the umbilicus, it's about at 20 weeks po.
Okay, so you can deduce from this statement alone that the fundic height is bigger compared to the computed age of gestation. Am I correct? Tama ba, Iha?
Yes po.
So therefore, what are your considerations? Okay. So could this be a case of wrong dating of pregnancy? Yes or no? Baka naman hindi niya natandaan talaga yung LMP niya, or she may be having an irregular cycle. That's why she thought that she's only 16 weeks, but on your examination, the size of the uterus or the fundus is already about 20 weeks age of gestation. Is this possible? Yes or no? Yun lang naman ang sagot doon.
Possible po, Doc.
Okay, very good, Paulo. How about multiple pregnancy? Pwede bang mangyari na mas malaki ang matres kahit 16 weeks pa lang siya? Pwede?
Possible din po, Doc.
Okay, possible din. How about a pregnancy within a uterus with a big myoma? Pwede ba that you can feel a bigger uterus even if she's only 16 weeks?
Possible po, Doc.
Okay, very good. Maria Angela. How about ovarian cyst? There is a significantly sized ovarian cyst on the right or the left adnexa, maybe the right or the left ovary, that is pushing the uterus upwards. That's why on your PE, you feel the fundus to be higher than the expected. Is this possible? Binibigay ko na nga sa inyo yung reason eh. Is that possible?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, yes. Osiris, yes, pwede. So these are actually your differentials. Okay, on your first contact with the patient and you see the discrepancy, dapat this should be raising already in your minds. So is this because of wrong dating? So I will have to extract a better history on her menstrual cycle. Is this a multiple pregnancy? Then I will have to ask her about her risk of multiple pregnancy. Is this myoma or ovarian cyst? Then I probably need to do more examination of the abdomen if I can feel a separate mass to the separate mass that is probably adherent or adjacent to the uterus, or any history, gynecologic history in the past wherein she was diagnosed to have myoma or an ovarian cyst. So these are all possible answers, okay? All of the above. Okay. So this, okay, going back, so these are our learning objectives. So we have to understand the mechanisms why twinning, no, or multiple pregnancy happens. And then it is also very important to detect early, no, and what to do with the multiple gestation or twin pregnancy. How do we take care of a patient carrying a twin pregnancy or even triplet or even quadruplet pregnancy? Okay, but for our purpose this afternoon, we'll just restrict our discussion to twin. Masyadong complicated na kasi pag triplet at saka more than higher order twinning pa. And then what are the unique complications that we expect to happen in twin pregnancy? And of course, what will be the mode of delivery? Are you going to do cesarean section sa lahat ng twins, or is there a room to do a vaginal delivery? Okay. So what are the risk factors? Of course, in your history taking, if you're suspecting a twin pregnancy, then you ask the mother, are you taking fertility enhancing pills or enhancing drugs? So she may have an infertility problem. So she may be being treated for this, and she's being given a fertility pill or a drug that will enhance development of several oocyte, so that the probability of oocyte harvest or the probability of fertilization during mid-cycle is higher because she has developed good number and a good quality of oocytes. You also would like to know the age of the patient because the risk of multifetal pregnancy is higher beyond 35 years of maternal age. And then you ask also if you're, although sa Philippines wala namang geographic differences, in terms of the incidence of multifetal pregnancy, but if you are dealing with a foreigner, you ask the ethnic, the cultural and the ethnic, the race, because it is actually common in some ethnic groups of patients. Parity, so the probability of having a multifetal pregnancy also increases with increasing parity. And of course, the family histories. There are history of twinning in the family, be it your immediate family or your in your cousins, in your aunts. So if there is a good history of twinning. Now, how do you diagnose clinically? Clinically pa lang tayo, no? How do you suspect that there may be multifetal pregnancy or twin pregnancy? As mentioned in the case scenario, so the fundic height may be a clue, no? If your fundic height is bigger compared to your computed age of gestation, then you have to rule out twin or multifetal pregnancy. And in the course of your Leopold's maneuver, marunong na kayo lahat mag-Leopold's maneuver, dapat, no? If you are feeling several fetal parts, bakit parang doon sa fundo, sa L1 may ulo? Bakit dito sa L2 parang may ulo na naman? Okay? So probably baka dalawa talaga yung baby sa loob. That's why you're feeling multiple fetal parts. And if you listen to the fetal heart tone, you'd be surprised that you hear one fetal heart tone best in one area, and then when you shift your stethoscope, you hear another fetal heart tone in another area of the maternal abdomen, which is you can actually pick it up as a very good, a very clear fetal heart tone. So probably in this case, you may be dealing with not just one but two fetuses. So how do you confirm? Of course, nandiyan yung ultrasound. That is widely accessible, the most practical modality that you can request. So the ultrasound can actually pick up the number of fetuses. Marami ka pang malalaman sa ultrasound. Of course, you can confirm the age of gestation. You can confirm the type of chorionicity, whether this is monochorionic or dichorionic type of pregnancy, because there are certain complications that are unique to its type of twinning. No, you can also look at the placenta. Where is it implanted? Especially if there are two placentas, is one placenta implanted lower in the uterus, probably near or even covering the cervical os? And then look at also the amniotic fluid. And in mid-trimester scan, you can also check for the organs of the fetuses, no, whether there are abnormalities or structural problems. MRI, do we need really to do MRI? It's more expensive. It's not widely accessible. So as first line imaging modality, it still is the ultrasound. You need the MRI if you are considering conjoined twins, because you want to know the type of conjoined twins and what is their orientation. ba natin ang X-ray to diagnose pregnancy? No more. We do not do this anymore because of the unnecessary exposure of the mother to radiation. Probably in low resource areas wherein walang ultrasound or walang marunong mag-ultrasound, walang MRI, and you really need to confirm whether you're dealing with a multifetal pregnancy, and you only have a radiologist available, you can do an X-ray. These are probably the unusual indications, no? But we are no longer using X-ray or radiography to confirm our diagnosis of multifetal pregnancy. Okay, so how does this happen? So there are two types of multifetal pregnancy or twin pregnancy. No? Ito yung tinatawag natin na dizygotic or what we call the fraternal twins. And the other one is monozygotic or what we call identical twins. So when we say dizygotic or fraternal twins, there are two separate ova, and each ovum is fertilized by a sperm. So two ova, two sperms, and the sperm fertilize its ova. And this will result now to two fetuses. So we call this dichorionic, diamnionic placenta, but it is dizygotic kasi dalawa yung pinanggalingan niyang maternal and fetal origins, no? So when we say dichorionic, diamnionic, so we expect to see chorionic membranes or two chorions. We expect to see two amnions or amniotic fluid, amniotic membrane, and then there should be two placenta. The placenta may be separate just like in this case. I hope you see this. Can you see my arrow?
Nakikita po yung mouse. Yes.
Yeah. Hindi ko alam paano ba magkulay. Okay. So anyway, we can see my arrow, no? So in here, there's placenta here, anteriorly located, and there's another placenta here. So you can clearly see that there are two placentas within the uterus. However, in this case, mukhang isa lang yung placenta, although medyo malaki. Okay, so this may still be a dizygotic, dichorionic, diamnionic placenta, but it may be fused probably somewhere here. That's why it appears just like one single placenta, but there are actually two placentas. Okay, this is what we call the lambda sign or the twin peaks. And if this is fraternal twins, then they can be of the same or opposite sex. Kasi dalawang ovum, dalawang ova, dalawang sperm. So one twin may be male, one twin may be female. So therefore, if you see in the course of ultrasound examination, one twin is male, one twin is female, then probably this is dichorionic, diamnionic placenta. But you cannot necessarily identify whether this is dizygotic or monochorionic because separate sex of the twins can also happen in monochorionic placenta. Okay, this is clear with dizygotic. Dizygotic fraternal, so dalawang separate, dalawang ovum, dalawang sperm, so giving rise to two separate embryos and then two separate fetuses. Now let's go now to monozygotic twins. Ito mas komplikado. So that's the membrane, no? Or the lambda sign. Okay, now let's go to what happens. When we say monochorionic twin, there's only one egg fertilized by one sperm. And this zygote now will undergo division. And depending on the day that it divides, it will now spell the difference whether this is diamnionic, dichorionic, whether this is monochorionic, diamnionic, or monochorionic, monoamnionic. Medyo nakakalito, but I'll explain that later in a while. Okay, so what happens during fertilization? So during mid-cycle, there is release of the ovum. Okay, so kung may nakaabang na sperm dyan, this ovum will be readily fertilized. Okay, so if you notice, as the ovum passes through the fallopian tube, it is actually undergoing fertilization already. and there is now formation of a zygote. So this is on day 1, wherein the sperm is already within the nucleus of the ovum. And at day 2, you now see 2 cell states, and then 4 cell states, and then 8 cell states, or the morula. The first 3 to 4 days from fertilization, the fertilized egg is just traveling along the fallopian tube. Okay? So what happens now during twinning? So, yan. Okay. So from 2 cell states, ito, 2 cell states, nandito pa lang tayo sa fallopian tube, andyan siya. If it divides between 0 to 4 days, here, what happens? This will create 2 embryonic discs, 2 blastocysts here, and each blastocyst will develop its own chorionic membrane, its own amniotic membrane, and a developing embryo or fetus. So this will now give rise to 2 gestational sacs or 2 chorionic sacs, 2 amniotic sacs, each sac with its own placenta and its own developing fetus. So the placenta here may be separate or it may be fused. So that's how it looks like on ultrasound if you look at it. So we call this dichorionic. Bakit? Kasi dalawa rin ang amniotic membrane. And the division happens early, even before the formation of the morula states or the embryonic disc. Okay? Now, what happens if division happens between day 4 to day 8 from fertilization? Wherein at this point, there is already formation of the embryonic disc. However, wala pa siyang amnion. Okay, so this will give rise now to a single chorionic sac, and this sac will now house or contain 2 amniotic membranes, and these amniotic membranes will contain 2 embryo. So this will now give rise to this will give rise na to monochorionic. So there's just 1 chorionic membrane, but there are 2 amnions, so monochorionic, diamnionic type of twinning. Okay, can you still follow? Yes?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, good. So what happens if division happens later pa, between 8 to 12 days, wherein may embryonic disc ka na-form na rin yung chorionic sac, and you also see the beginning already of the amnion. So what happens? So since there's already chorionic sac, there's already amniotic sac, so there will just be the development of 2 embryos or 2 fetuses with sharing 1 placenta. Okay, so this is what we call now the monochorionic, monoamniotic type of placentation or twinning. Pasaway, nag-divide pa siya beyond 13 days. So this will now give rise to your same monochorionic, 1 chorionic sac and 1 amniotic sac, but dito nangyayari yung conjoined twins. So there's incomplete separation of the twins. Okay, is this clear? Okay, so since they divide coming from a single fertilized egg, then the general rule is this will give rise to same-sex fetuses. So pag nakita mo same-sex, baka ito ay monozygotic type of twinning or identical twins. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so now let's proceed. So this is just a better representation of what happens. So for monozygotic dichorionic diamnionic twins, nagtatang twister na ako dito. So if division happens between 0 to 4 days, so you will see 2 chorionic sacs, 2 amniotic sacs, 2 separate placenta, but it can be fused, and of course, 2 umbilical cords supplying 2 fetuses. 0 to 4 days. So what we see in ultrasound, so how can we detect this on ultrasound? So we look for this sign, no? This what we call the twin peak sign, yan, or the lambda sign, because it is triangular in shape. It is called the twin peak sign or the lambda sign. Why does this happen? Since there are 2 chorions and 2 amnions, in between these membranes, there is a potential space. Tanggalin ko muna itong akin yan. There is a potential space. And the placenta can insinuate actually in between the spaces created by the separate membranes. That's why a lambda sign or a twin peak sign, which is actually an extension of the placenta, is formed. So kami na nag-ultrasound, we look for this because we want to know the type of twinning. So if we want to see, if we're able to see this, then we commit ourselves that this is a diamniotic, dichorionic type of twinning. Okay, because of this lambda sign. How about a monochorionic diamniotic twin? So division happens between 4 to 8 days, wherein there's already formation of a chorion, kaya monochorionic, pero wala pang amnion. So this now gives rise to the development of 2 amnions. And since mayroon ka ng chorionic plate, so you only have 1 placenta, but there are 2 umbilical cords coming from the placenta supplying 2 fetuses. So this is monochorionic diamniotic type of twinning. So how can we detect this? So again, by ultrasound. So medyo technical tayo because that's the only way we can diagnose the type of twinning. Okay? So now kung kanina lambda sign or twin peak sign, ngayon naman ang tinatawag nating T sign. Okay. So that is the T sign. Bakit T sign? Because since there is 1 chorionic membrane, although even if there are 2 amniotic sacs, this chorionic membrane will prevent now the ingrowth of the placenta in between the spaces created by the amniotic sacs. Kaya ganito ang nangyayari. You only see a perpendicular attachment of the amnion to the membrane of the placenta, no? So this will now create the T sign. So again, kung kami na nag-ultrasound, we look for this, the T sign. So if we see this, this is an indication that this is a monochorionic, but since there are 2 membranes separating its fetus, then this is a monochorionic diamniotic type of twinning. You may be asking, what is it for me? Why do I need to know whether it's dichorionic, diamnionic, because there are certain complications inherent to its type of twinning. So that's why it's very important for us to detect. And the best time for us to detect the type of twinning is actually on the first trimester of pregnancy. Yes, we may still be able to see the membranes of the second trimester of pregnancy, but as the pregnancy progresses, lumalaki ng lumalaki yung mga babies, it's getting harder and harder for us to detect the type of twinning, especially this part where the membrane now inserts on the placenta. Okay, so for monozygotic, monochorionic, monoamniotic twins, this happens, division happens between 8 to 12 days. So from the term itself, there's just 1 chorion, 1 amnion, 1 placenta, but you see 2 fetuses within. Okay, and this is how it looks like on ultrasound. So you just see 1 chorionic sac. There is no dividing membrane between the fetuses. So parang dalawang fetuses within a single room. Nandun lang sila dalawa sa single, naglalaro sila in one room. So now, that's how it looks like. So there is no membrane in between or separating the twins. For conjoined twins, we suspect conjoined twins if we see the twins to be moving in unison. No? So it's very rare that you see them moving separately. So it's like as if when one twin moves, the other twin moves also in the same direction. And katulad nito, they seem to be facing each other. And you cannot clearly see the structures or the organs of its individual twin. So how do we confirm this? Again, as I mentioned kanina, it's very hard really to see on ultrasound, especially if you want to see where the connection is. We need MRI. So this is an MRI picture, so you can clearly see that these twins are connected at the level of the abdomen, or what we call omphalophagus. Okay? So what are the obstetric complications that can happen? So the same complications that you can see in singleton pregnancy can also happen in multiple pregnancy or twin pregnancy, albeit they occur at a greater incidence. So they can happen earlier, they can be more severe, and the implication could also be severe for the mother as well as the twins. So for the fetal complications, so there is an increased incidence of abortion or vanishing twin. Okay, because actually twinning in itself is Pero mo naghati yung fertilized egg, no? So twinning in itself actually is a form of a teratogenic event. Okay? So that in the process of division, it can lead to spontaneous abortion or even a congenital abnormality. And low birth weight or growth restriction is also very common among twins. And because the uterus is overly distended, prematurity or preterm labor is also increased, especially if there is also a concomitant polyhydramnios. Malpresentation is also very common, so that the rate of cesarean section for the mother is also increased. And if there is premature rupture of membranes or pre-labor rupture of membranes, there may be cord prolapse. Okay, for the mother, so the risk of anemia is higher and the severity of the anemia is also higher. She may also have hemorrhages antenatal or intrapartum or postpartum. No, antenatal because there may be abnormal placentation. The placenta may be implanted or covering the internal os of the cervix. So this will now what we call placenta previa. Okay, she may bleed after delivery because the uterus cannot contract adequately or vigorously because it is overly distended to start with. So this will now cause atony and postpartum hemorrhage. Abruption can also happen because hypertension or hypertensive disorders in pregnancy is also very common among mothers with twin pregnancy. And then PPROM as discussed, preterm labor and delivery. Also diabetes is very common. And of course, cesarean section. Actually, I think while I was reading the book, it was only mentioned that the only thing that will not be increased in twin pregnancy is the risk for postdatism, because primarily they're delivered earlier than expected. So it's very rare that you see a twin pregnancy that will reach 40 weeks or even beyond. And the other thing is macrosomia, even with diabetes, but because there is fetal crowding in utero, so most of the time, the fetuses are actually not that big, even with maternal diabetes. So this is actually the growth curve, no? So there are three curves here. So the upper curve, which is colored blue, this is the normal growth curve or growth velocity for a singleton pregnancy. The lower is for monochorionic twin pregnancy, and the one in the middle is dichorionic twin pregnancy. So what does this tell you? So if you are dealing with the monochorionic type of twinning, you watch out because the probability that you will be dealing with growth restricted fetuses is higher compared to a dichorionic twin. Again, that's why we have to identify the type of twinning. Okay. Questions so far? So now we go to the complications that are unique to multifetal pregnancy, meaning to say you only see them in multifetal pregnancy, twins, triplets, quadruplets, whatever, okay, in multifetal pregnancies. And these are vascular anastomosis, aberrant twin. The aberrant twin may be in the form of a conjoined twin or an external parasitic twin or what we call fetus in fetu, although among the three, conjoined twin is the most common. The other two are reportable cases. And you can also have discordant twins, no, or selective growth restriction, wherein one twin is smaller compared to the other, or one twin is bigger compared to the other. There may also be cord entanglement, or it can also happen that one twin dies in utero and then the other twin survives. Okay. So now let's go to vascular anastomosis in monochorionic twins. So these complications that are unique to multifetal pregnancy, they happen only in monochorionic type of twinning. No? Monochorionic. Hindi siya dichorionic. Monochorionic wherein the twins share one placenta. So in vascular anastomosis, the anastomosis may be artery to artery, which is superficial, and it is actually the most frequent. It can also be venous to venous or artery to vein. So these other two are located deep in the placenta and they are not accessible, no? Especially if an in utero therapy may be necessary. So what are the complications of vascular anastomosis? Ayan. So the bottom line is a monochorionic type of twinning. Again, that's why it's very important to identify the type of twinning. So this can lead now to twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, to twin anemia polycythemia sequence, or to twin reverse arterial perfusion sequence. Excuse me, I'm actually having ano or TF. Okay. So ano naman itong mga ito? Okay. When do we say that there is a twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome? Ang problema lang kasi pagdating sa twins, really ultrasound is very important. You really have to send them for ultrasound examination regularly. There is a schedule that we follow so that we detect early on these complications. So there are twins, di ba? So in here, one twin will be the donor twin and the other twin will be the recipient twin. So what happens? The donor twin will supply part of its blood supply to the recipient twin. And how does this happen? Through the anastomosis. Kaya nga, may vascular anastomosis. So as a result, the donor twin will now be growth restricted, and to maintain a good supply to the vital organs of the donor twin, there would be preferential flow now to the heart, blood flow to the heart and to the brain to take care of the heart and the brain at the expense of the kidneys. Okay, so what happens? So since konti ang blood flow sa kidney, konti ang ihi. And this will now result to oliguria. Excuse me. So results to oliguria. And we know that the amniotic fluid is made up, a great part of the amniotic fluid is made up of the urine coming from the fetus. So if there is oliguria, this will now lead to oligohydramnios. And how do we check for oligohydramnios? Again, sa ultrasound yun. We measure the single vertical packet. If it's less than 2, then we can say that this is oligohydramnios. And this will now give rise to what we call stuck twin. So one twin appears to be stuck in one corner of the uterus, covered by its membrane with just minimal amount of amniotic fluid. Okay? And because of this, nakaipit lang siya sa isang side ng uterus, there may be contracture formation, or there may be pulmonary hypoplasia because the fluid is needed also for the normal development of the lungs, the fetal lungs. And because there's less blood supply going to the donor twin, it can also result to anemia or pallor, which you can appreciate after delivery. So what happens to the recipient twin? So tanggap lang siya ng tanggap. So it grows and grows, and so it becomes large for gestational age. And because a lot of blood is going to the recipient twin, this may result to circulatory overload. It may result to hydrops, wherein there is edema of the twins, no? And then also polyhydramnios or hydramnios, or in the single vertical packet is more than 8. And because there is overdistension of the amniotic fluid, this can lead now to PROM. And if you look at the fetus after delivery, it is polycythemic, it is reddish, no? Mas mapula siya compared to the donor twin. So ganito nangyayari. So donor twin will give blood to the recipient twin through this anastomosis, and this will now give rise to a bigger and polycythemic recipient twin and a pale and smaller donor twin. So this is how it looks like. So this will now be your donor twin. Ang liit, tapos nakastuck lang siya in one corner. Whereas this is the recipient twin with a lot of fluid around it. And it's clearly it appears bigger compared to the donor twin. So when we see this, then this is the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. Is growth restriction of the donor twin necessary for the diagnosis of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome? It's not actually necessary. But if you see that there is oligohydramnios in one twin and polyhydramnios in another twin in a background, in a setup of monochorionic type of presentation or twinning, then we consider twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. I hope that's clear. because we now go to the other type of vascular anastomosis, another complication of vascular anastomosis, which is twin anemia polycythemia sequence, or what we call TAPS. No? In here naman, there is significant hemoglobin difference between the twins with no accompanying abnormality in amniotic fluid, and there is no growth discordance. So the only thing that happens here is there is a disparity in the hemoglobin. How can we say that one twin is anemic, the other one is not? Or sumusobra pang hemoglobin? So in here, Doppler ultrasound becomes necessary. Wherein we interrogate the middle cerebral artery. I hope you have already encountered Doppler ultrasound. We study the the blood vessels, no, of the mother as well as the baby, the fetus. And one of the fetal vessels that we interrogate or we study is the middle cerebral artery. And then we get the peak systolic velocity. So ito lang naman yung cutoff, okay? If the peak systolic velocity of one twin is greater than 1.5 multiples of the median, and the other one, this is abnormal, more than 1.5, and the other one is normal, then we can say that this twin with greater than 1.5 multiples of the median peak systolic velocity is anemic. Okay, and when you deliver the twins, you can actually see the disparity even by looking at the placenta. So this is the recipient twin kasi ang pula-pula ng kanyang placenta niya. This one would be the donor twin because of its pale placenta. And this is a monochorionic type of placenta. You only have one placenta, okay? Okay, next is the twin reverse arterial perfusion sequence, or what we call a cardiac twin. So ano naman nangyayari dito? So what happens here, the donor twin or the pump twin appears normal. Okay, grossly normal. But instead of this recipient twin getting its blood supply from the placenta, it is actually the donor twin that supplies the recipient twin. Oh, sorry. Okay, so itong donor twin will supply blood to the recipient twin, and because it cannot give enough blood to the recipient twin, it can probably supply only some parts of the body, and most of the time it's the lower part. So anong nangyayari? The lower part of the body is developed, but then the upper part is not developed, or you don't see actually any upper part of the fetus. Okay, so it undergoes maldevelopment or non-development at all. So nangyayari dito, that's why we call it a cardiac twin, because the upper part of the torso is not developed. Okay, so this is what happens. So you can see that the upper extremities, the lower extremities, but nothing above this part. Okay, so this is what we call a cardiac twin. So sometimes they just appear like an irregular mass-like structure alongside the normal looking twin, but this is actually already the recipient twin, which is maldeveloped or malformed. Okay, so because this donor twin keeps on pumping and pumping blood to the donor twin, it may undergo eventually heart failure and may even die in utero. Okay, so again, this is a complication of monochorionic type of twinning. So these are the types of conjoined twin. So attachment at the thorax, thoracopagus, abdomen omphalopagus, cranium, craniopagus, at the pelvis, ischipagus, the lateral side of the body, parapagus, the cranium, the side of the face, cephalopagus, at the buttocks, pygopagus, and at the back, rachitpagus. Which one is the most common? It is thoracopagus. Ito pa rin ang common na nakikita natin. Okay. So again, when is division? When is the division of the zygote? When you see conjoined twins? Anybody? Oh. Anybody? Kailan nag-divide yung zygote? If you see the conjoined twins. Ikausap pa ako. Ano, nakalimutan na. Anybody? I will not move if you will not answer me.
13 days po.
Beyond. It's beyond 13 days. Okay? So, hindi lang 13 days, Iha. Beyond. Okay? So, that's when there is the development of conjoined twins. Ito naman yung ibang klaseng twin. So, this is a parasitic twin. So, this is not a normal looking twin, but it is attached to a normal-looking co-twin. So it is a parasite. Minsan makikita mo lang, may limb lang na nakausli, okay? So that is still the remnant of the parasitic twin. The other type is what we call fetus in fetu. So what happens early in the first trimester is the co-twin is enveloped by the developing other twin. Okay, so actually ang nangyayari is parang this abnormal twin gets hindi naman kinain, no? Parang na-envelope lang siya ng normal developing twin and it gets incorporated into the organ structures of the normally developing twin. Okay, so that's fetus in fetu. So now we go to discordant twins, or there may be selective growth restriction of one twin. No? So this can happen both in a monochorionic and dichorionic twins. So it happens in monochorionic twins because there is an equal sharing of the placenta. So probably si twin A, mas maraki ang nakuha niya sa placenta, kaya mas maganda ang blood supply niya compared to twin B. So this can also happen because of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, wherein there is vascular anastomosis. And there may be inherent structural anomalies or syndromic abnormalities, no? Because as I mentioned kanina, in itself, twinning is teratogenic. That's why the risk of congenital abnormality is higher. How about in dichorionic twins? Growth restriction happens because there may be different genetic growth potential, especially in dizygotic twins, wherein there are two ova, there are two sperms, so maaring magkaibang genetic component, no? And then it can also happen that there is suboptimal implantation site of one placenta. So probably one placenta is implanted in a well-vascularized area of the uterus, while the other one is implanted doon sa not so well-vascularized. That's why the blood supply going to the twins are not equal. Or fetal crowding can happen, or there might be placental abnormality or pathology, just like in hypertensive disorders. As we mentioned kanina, hypertensive disorder is the risk is higher in twin pregnancy or multifetal pregnancy, and therefore kahit sa singleton pregnancy, if there is hypertensive disorder, we expect as part of its complication growth restriction. Okay. So when do we say that there is discordant twins or discordancy, no, growth discordancy? So we measure the abdominal circumference. How do we measure this? Again, by ultrasound. Okay. So yung nag-ultrasound dito, i-measure niya yung abdominal circumference nitong isang twin na to, and then itong isang twin din na ito. Okay. If the difference is 20 millimeters or more, then this will tell us that we are dealing with discordant twins. So is this a red flag? Yes, of course. Kasi abnormal yung growth ng isang twin. Baka mamatay yung isang twin because of this abnormal growth. Okay? So sometimes we need to deliver them early to save or to prevent death in utero from happening. Okay, you delivered the twins. Ito itsura. Clearly, you see the growth difference, wherein one twin is bigger compared to the other twin. So another way of diagnosing discordant twins is by ultrasound is you compute for the discordancy. No, we need the estimated fetal weight of both twins, wherein the weight of the larger twin minus the weight of the smaller twin divided by the weight of the larger twin times 100%. So if the growth difference is more than or equal to 20%, then this is the threshold for the diagnosis of discordant twins. In some books, it actually says 25%. In some books naman 15%. But as far as my society is concerned, I am a trained ultrasound specialist. As far as the Philippine Obstetrical and Gynecological Society is concerned, the threshold that we are using is 20%. Okay, so if your computation here is 20% or more, then therefore you are dealing with a discordant twins. Do we need both to say before we give a diagnosis of discordant twins? Not really. So as long as you see that the estimated fetal weight difference is more than 20% or equal to 20%, even without this, the abdominal circumference. Although most of the time, sumusunod din yan, no? So one is not dependent on the other. Based on just any of these findings can give you a diagnosis of discordant twins. Okay. Another complication, lalo na ng monochorionic monoamniotic type of twinning is cord entanglement. Okay. So you can see this on ultrasound. If you apply color Doppler, you can see the umbilical cord so chaotically arranged, no? And then if you see grossly, then you can see this cord entanglement. So this can happen only in monoamniotic monochorionic type of twinning because there is no separating membrane. Because of constant movement ng mga twins, so buhol-buhol na yung kanilang umbilical cord. So again, this happens only in monochorionic, monoamniotic type of twinning. How about demise of what twin? So one twin, we lose one twin, no, in utero. So if this happens during the first trimester, the risk of death to the surviving twin is not increased. So we just follow this up later as a singleton pregnancy. What happens to the dead twin? It will vanish because it's so small pa, it will undergo resorption. So that's why we call it the vanishing twin. So that on delivery, you will no longer see a remnant of the dead twin. However, if this happens during the second to the third trimester of pregnancy, ito yung problematic. Because most of the time, this will end up with preterm delivery because you might need to deliver the surviving twin earlier because of the increased risk of death in utero, because of fetal neurodevelopmental abnormality. There are also increased risk for the mother for coagulopathy because fetal structures may enter the maternal circulation that may cause formation or that may result to maternal coagulopathy. So bakit increased risk of death for the surviving twin? So what happens? So let's say you have of course, may setup yan. So probably my twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome or my growth discordancy. So if you look at this picture, one twin is smaller compared to the other twin. So if this smaller twin dies in utero, what happens? So because there is a vascular anastomosis, so the blood pressure within the dead twin becomes zero. Okay? Zero. So therefore, there is now preferential flow of blood coming from the surviving twin to the dead twin kasi it will create a volume nung namatay si small twin eh. So there will now be less pressure going into the dead twin so that this will now drain the surviving twin. So what happens? The surviving twin now will develop hypotension, and critical here would be the brain. The brain will there will be a decreased perfusion to the brain, and then this will now result to cerebral ischemia, brain damage, and eventual death of the surviving inatirang twin, death in utero then. So that's why it is necessary to deliver them earlier than expected. So preterm delivery is higher. Although it's really hard to detect the incident when it happens, because by the time you see the dead twin, then probably the surviving twin has already developed some form of complications, especially if you look at the age of gestation. If this happens at less than 34 weeks, then neurodevelopmental morbidity is higher actually, 5 times in monochorionic than dichorionic twins. And if this happens above 34 weeks, then the risk may be the same. So this can also happen in dichorionic twin, but the risk is higher in monochorionic twins. Okay, so how do we follow up on these twins? So again, as I mentioned, ultrasound really is very necessary. So if you are dealing with a dichorionic twin, the best time to confirm twin pregnancy is during the first trimester. And when I say first trimester, this would be between 11 to 14 weeks. So we date the pregnancy, we label which one is twin A, which one is twin B. We diagnose the type of chorionicity, and we can also do screening for trisomy by looking at the nuchal translucency and the presence of the nasal bone. Then the next, compare that to monochorionic twin, so ganun din naman. So when is the next ultrasound? Around 20 to 22 weeks for dichorionic twin, because we need to do a detailed congenital anomaly scan, plus the others, biometry, amniotic fluid volume assessment, as well as cervical length, because they are at risk for preterm labor and delivery. And then subsequently, for dichorionic twins, you may schedule the follow-up ultrasound every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the need, no, kung wala namang complications. However, for monochorionic twins, you have to do the ultrasound every 2 weeks. Okay? Kita nyo dito, every 2 weeks because we expect more complications from dichorionic twins. We even need to do Doppler ultrasound. Okay? Very early. So here. And then if you see complications like one twin is smaller or oligohydramnios, then we do Doppler ultrasound every follow-up. So this is just to show you the complications between a monochorionic and dichorionic. So of course, the complications are higher compared to a singleton pregnancy. But between dichorionic and monochorionic, the complications are greater in monochorionic twins as to fetal loss, neonatal death, overall survival is lesser, developmental delay is greater in monochorionic, and cerebral palsy is also greater because primarily of prematurity. Okay, prematurity. Now let's go to mode of delivery. Are all twins delivered by cesarean section? Not necessarily. If twin A and B are vertex, then we can do trial vaginal delivery. So color-coded yan, blue. If twin A is non-vertex and twin B is in any presentation, so red, okay, twin A is non-vertex, 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 then the recommendation is to do cesarean section. By the way, how do we label the twins? Sino si twin A, sino si twin B? The twin that is nearer the cervix is labeled as twin A. Okay? Not because of their weight, estimated weight, not because of their sex, but the proximity to the cervix. So the one that is nearer the cervix is labeled as twin A. Okay? If twin A is vertex and twin B is non-vertex, ito yon, vertex, vertex, but twin B is non-vertex, you have the option to do cesarean section or NSD with internal podalic version. That's IPV, internal podalic version, especially if the mother is multiparous. Okay? So ang sinisias lang dito outright is pag twin A is non-vertex. Pag parehong cephalic, vaginal delivery can be safely done. Although in patients who are primigravid, kahit na cephalic, most of the time they end up with cesarean section. Ito naman, si third group, pag cephalic si twin A, non-cephalic si twin B, so you have the option to do CS or you have the option to do vaginal delivery. So this is another phenomenon that happens in twin pregnancy, especially in monochorionic, monoamnionic type of twinning, which is what we call the interlocking twins. So especially if the twin B is breech and then cephalic si twin A, so what happens? Naglalak yung jaw nila as twin A is delivered. I have not encountered one actually. Okay, so if a vaginal delivery is opted, so what happens after delivery of twin A? So assess the presentation, station, and fetal heart tone of twin B. Continuous fetal monitoring should be done while waiting for twin B to be delivered. And while waiting, whether it's vertex or breech, this twin is guided into the birth canal by hand in the vagina and another one at the fundal area. Okay, so since the cervix is already fully dilated because twin A has been delivered vaginally, then it would be easier for the attending to insert one hand, look for the presenting part of twin B, and then together with the hand on the fundus, you guide twin B down into the pelvic area. Okay. Once engaged, amniotomy can be safely done. You check the fetal heart tones, and then you avoid cord prolapse or you detect cord prolapse immediately. You can actually do oxytocin augmentation if necessary. No, is it necessary to deliver the twin A within a particular time? Not really. So you can even wait for 30 minutes or even 1 hour as long as there is reassuring fetal heart tone on your CTG monitoring. So it is very important that you have a CTG attached to the maternal abdomen monitoring the fetal heart tones of twin B. Kung maganda naman, then you can still wait until twin B engages, and then it goes down further with maternal bearing down efforts until vaginal delivery. Now, what happens if twin B is not cephalic? Okay, let's say naka-transverse siya or breech. So you can actually do internal podalic version. Okay, so what you do here, So this is now the attending, the obstetrician, inserts the hand within the uterus, grasp the lower extremities. So you should be able to know na ito by lower extremities or upper extremities. Grasp the lower extremities and then pull down the baby. Okay, so that's why it's internal podalic version. You deliver the baby via complete breech extraction after doing the internal podalic version. Okay, so this can be done in multiparous patients because of the laxity of the uterus, the cervix, as well as the vaginal canal. Okay, so these are the procedures, actually obstetric procedures that are not commonly done, but they are actually fading to oblivion. It would be nice if we can do this for all the residents. It's so overwhelming, no? It's so what do you call this? Parang nakaka-high, masyado nakaka-high if you were able to do this. You can really feel that you're an obstetrician. Okay. I was actually lucky to do one of this during my early consultancy days. Okay, so that ends my lecture, but I have a few more. So probably we can go to some questions. So let's look at case 2. So a 30-year-old, G3P22002, consulted because of amenorrhea of 2 months. Pregnancy test is positive. Previous pregnancies were delivered vaginally without complication. TVS was requested, revealing the following. Okay. By the way, do you have questions before I proceed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Walang question. Okay. So ito ang ultrasound picture na binigay sa atin. Both twins alive, 8 weeks. What is the zygosity and chorionicity? Zygosity is monozygote or dizygote. Okay. So what is this? Is this doon muna tayo sa chorionicity. Is this a monochorionic or a dichorionic type of twinning? Look at the arrow. Anybody? Anong sign yan?
T-sign po, Doc.
T sign. Therefore, is this what type? What type of twinning? Chorionic, monochorionic, or dichorionic?
Monochorionic po, Doc.
Yes, monochorionic. Since it is monochorionic, what is the zygosity? Dizygotic or monozygotic?
Monozygotic po, Doc.
Yes, very good. So, ibig sabihin, galing lang siya sa one egg, one sperm, nag-divide. Kaya, naging monochoriotic. Very good. Makikinig. Okay, so as a review, dichorionic at saka monochorionic. So, ito, monochorionic T sign. And then dichorionic, you see the lambda or the twin peak sign. Okay. When should the next ultrasound examination be done? So 8 weeks siya nung na-ultrasound. So remember the flow chart that I showed you? Ito. So na-diagnose na natin na monochorionic. So it should be done around 11 to 14 weeks. Okay? So kahit na alam mo na yung chorionicity, alam mo na yung date, you want to screen for trisomy. Okay, so anong ginagawa dito? We look at the nuchal translucency. Yan, okay? And the presence of the nasal bone. If the nuchal translucency is more than 3 millimeters, then we may be dealing with an abnormality. So we need to follow this up during the 20-week scan when the patient is scanned for congenital anomaly. Okay? The absence of the nasal bone is also an indication that there may be Down syndrome. Same thing with increased nuchal translucency. So follow-up ultrasound was done at 12 weeks. Both twins have appropriate interval growth, good activity. Nuchal translucency of the twins is 1 millimeter. So this is normal because the cutoff is 3 millimeters. 1.5 cb naman, normal pa rin. When is the best time to do congenital anomaly? Again, as shown in the flow chart, you request congenital anomaly around 20 weeks. But pwede na rin between 20 to 24 weeks. Baka naman di makarating yun ng sakto 20 weeks. So 20 to 24 weeks. That's acceptable, okay? Yan. Congenital anomalies scan of both twins at 20 weeks is normal. Patient, however, was not able to follow up. She came back at 28 weeks asymptomatic. In your examination, you noted that the fundic height is 29 cm. Okay? And she's already 28 weeks. Okay naman yung heart tones. Okay. Question, what are not reassuring in the history and PE? Anybody? Is this something na gusto nating mangyari in a monochorionic type of twinning?
So, Doc, yung hindi po siya nagpa-follow up.
Okay, pasawain, no? Sarap kurutin. Bakit ganon? Alam mo ng twins, monochorionic pa, and explain mo na lahat bakit hindi siya bumalik. There may be a valid reason, but then you really have to sit down again with the patient and stress the importance of a good prenatal care. What else? She's 28 weeks with a fundic height of 29 cm. Is that the expected fundic height of a twin pregnancy? Diba? Doon sa aking opening PowerPoint, ano sabi ko doon? May discrepancy ng fundic height sa computed AOG. Ito magkapareho, oh.
Doc, dapat more than po.
Yes, very good, Paulo. Should be more than. So if this is a singleton pregnancy, pwede, no? Pero this is twin pregnancy. So it should be probably more than 30 cms already. Okay? So ito yung problem natin ngayon. Okay, nag-ultrasound tayo ulit kasi nga maliit yung fundic height. O okay naman, buhay naman yung twins. Ito ngayon ang kanilang weights. O, wag nyo na pansinin yung mga measurements. Tingnan nyo na lang yung weight. Estimated fetal weight of twin A is 950, twin B is 830. Is this significant? How is growth discordancy computed? So magko-compute ko na ngayon. Okay, so weight of the larger twin, which is 950, minus the weight of the smaller twin, minus 800, divided by 950 times 100. So this gives us a difference of 12.6. Is this compatible with the diagnosis of growth discordancy? Ano yung threshold natin? Based on the
20%.
Yes, 20%. So, yes, mas maliit nga si twin B, pero hindi enough to say that there is growth discordancy. Sige, follow up lang tayo. There may be trending, no? Baka nagte-trend, kaya mag-follow up tayo. But you cannot tell the mother, okay lang, bumalik ka ulit after 1 month. Remember, this is a monochorionic type of twinning, and therefore the follow-up schedule should be every 2 weeks. If it can be done, if the resources will allow, then you do ultrasound every 2 weeks. Okay? Yan. So ito lang, just to emphasize again the difference between discordant twins, no? Okay. At 30 weeks AOG, a growth difference of 20% was noted. Okay. And then this is single vertical packet, no? The single vertical packet of twin A, that's measuring the amniotic fluid, no? By vertical packet. Si twin A ay 8.5 and 1.8 cm for twin B. So ang sabi natin, pag more than 8 cm, that is polyhydramnios, excessive amount of amniotic fluid. Pag less than 2 cm, that is oligohydramnios or inadequate amniotic fluid. Question. What is the consideration? Ay, lumabas na. Okay, twin to twin transfusion. Sasabihin ko na kasi lampas na ako. Baka nandiyan na si Dr. Amparo. Basis, monochorionic twins, and then the polyhydramnios, oligohydramnios sequence. Okay? And so this is just a monochorionic type of placenta, single placenta with 2 umbilical cord, with 2 amnions, but 1 chorion. And then, siguro I'll stop here na lang. Baka nandiyan na si Dr. Amparo. So, if you have questions, so you can just ask me, probably through the OB office, okay? So I hope you were able to identify the important concepts about multiple gestation. Okay, thank you and bye-bye. I'll stop share here.
Thank you po, Doc.
Bye.